Let me take you back to how this all began. I'm Jake, and the 72-year-old legend in this story is my grandfather, Nolan Beck. A retired attorney turned lemon tree enthusiast, Grandpa moved into the quiet gated community of Mosswood Estates 3 years ago, declaring it the perfect place to, as he put it, rot in peace. But peace was short-lived. Enter Helen Dross, the self-proclaimed guardian of order and president of the Homeowners Association, HOA. A former etiquette instructor with a love of rules and an even deeper love of enforcing them, Helen was determined to turn Mosswood into a living home decor catalog. Grandpa, on the other hand, had other ideas. His lawn featured a 6-foot metal giraffe named Gerald, an army of garden gnomes, and a weather vane shaped like a duck flipping the bird. The first time I witnessed the clash between these two titans was on Grandpa's birthday. Helen stood at the edge of his yard, measuring a gnome like a crime scene investigator. She wore a blazer so stiff it looked bulletproof, and held a tape measure like it was a badge of honor. "Can I help you?" Grandpa asked without looking up from his tomato plants. "These gnomes exceed the permitted height by 3 inches, she said sweetly. "There is no gnome height limit in the bylaws." "There is now," she beamed. "Passed it last week." And that's when the war began. Helen started sending warning letters about clashing seasonal flags. Apparently, a 4th of July flag doesn't pair well with year-round Halloween decor. Then came complaints about visual clutter, targeting Gerald the giraffe and his metal animal friends. She even cited one gnome for aggressive posture because it held a tiny sword. "It's defending the petunias from dragons," Grandpa told me, laughing. But Helen didn't stop at complaints. She moved on to invented fines: $200 for ceramic mischief, $150 for excessive whirligigs, and $75 for violating bird bath reflectivity standards. I asked Grandpa why he didn't just pay them to make her go away. He smiled with that familiar lawyer glint in his eye. "Because none of them are real, Jake. According to the HOA rules, fines require board approval and a formal hearing. She's making them up." Undeterred, Helen escalated. She sent threatening emails, called city inspectors, and eventually slipped a handwritten invoice under Grandpa's door. A $300 backyard chaos fee, payable immediately or she'd place a lien on his property. "That's when I knew," Grandpa said. She crossed the line from annoying to actionable. While Helen ramped up her campaign, Grandpa quietly gathered evidence. Screenshots, recordings, emails, everything. He labeled the folder HOA Buffoonery Volume 1. It was tabbed, color-coded, and cross-referenced. Then came the cease and desist letter, crafted by his longtime friend and poker buddy Earl, a retired lawyer. Sent via certified mail, the letter spelled out Helen's overreach, the stress it caused, and warned of legal action if it didn't stop. Helen refused to sign for it 3 times. "So I got creative," Grandpa told me, grinning. He hired a process server to pose as a landscaping consultant. The man arrived with a clipboard and fake business card. "Ma'am, I have info on HOA-approved plant species," he said. Helen, eager to stay ahead on HOA matters, signed without hesitation. It was recorded on camera. She had been served. I was there when she read the letter. Her face flipped through confusion, fury, and finally something close to fear. She started calling someone, probably her lawyer. We heard her shrill voice echo from the porch. "What do you mean I can't do that? I'm the HOA president." She panicked, contacted the HOA's insurance attorney, and was told flatly, "You're on your own. We warned you not to antagonize Mr. Beck." A few days later came the monthly HOA meeting. Grandpa showed up in a suit he used to wear to court, carrying a laptop and a portable projector. "I'd like to present a brief slideshow," he said to the packed community center, titled "How to Leave Your Neighbors Alone, PowerPoint by Someone with Boundaries." First slide, a photo of Helen holding the cease and desist letter mid-scream. The room burst out laughing. Helen turned crimson. Grandpa clicked through his slides. Threatening emails, surveillance footage, spreadsheets of fake fines. Not just his, but 12 other neighbors too. In total, Grandpa said, adjusting his glasses, she's attempted to collect over $8,000 in unauthorized fines. That's fraud. Board members looked at each other nervously. The HOA's lawyer, attending via Zoom, looked like he wanted to disappear. "I move to strip Helen Dross of fine issuing authority," said Barb, a board member who happened to like Grandpa's gnomes. "Seconded," someone shouted. "All in favor?" Every hand shot up, except Helen's. "I also move to revoke her newsletter privileges and that ridiculous lanyard." "You can't do this," Helen snapped. "I've led this community for 6 years. Without me, it'll fall apart." "Ma'am," the HOA lawyer interrupted, "you may be facing legal consequences. I strongly recommend you stop talking." But Helen didn't stop. She went on a full-blown rant about aesthetic standards and called Grandpa's gnomes ceramic threats to community values. That's when Grandpa revealed his final slide, a draft lawsuit with listed damages that made several board members gasp. The vote was unanimous. Helen was stripped of her title, her lanyard, and her access to the HOA newsletter. Helen stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. She hissed, "This isn't over." "Oh, it is," the lawyer said quietly. "Unless you'd like to go to court." She left, but definitely not quietly. Her heels echoed down the hallway, followed by the slam of her car door. The next morning, Grandpa installed his masterpiece, a life-size flamingo pink lawn statue of Helen holding a clipboard. At the base was a small plaque that read, "She tried." Helen called the police. The responding officer examined the statue, read the plaque, and tried not to laugh. "Is this harassment?" she demanded. "Ma'am, this is art, and it's on his property." 3 weeks later, a special election removed Helen from the HOA entirely. She was ordered to repay every fake fine, with interest, total $12,400. The scream she let out when the notice arrived was reportedly heard 3 blocks away. And Grandpa? He's back to gardening in peace. Giraffe is still standing tall. The gnomes, still armed, still fabulous, still watching over the petunias.